odd degree of difference in terms of what the children received, again, particularly the two brothers. For Donald, there could never be enough to compensate for the loss of what he experienced as a child. And for my father, there was always too much of the wrong thing. And that impacted everybody in the family.
All begins with your grandfather.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You say he's a sociopath.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
He had no empathy. He was incredibly driven in a way that turned other people, including his children, his wife, into pawns to be used to his own ends. If somebody could be of service to him, then he would use them. If they couldn't be, he excised them. And in my father's case, tragically, he was not of use. He was the wrong kind of person. He was the wrong person. He was the wrong son. And my dad never recovered from that. And my grandfather essentially needed to get rid of him.
You say your grandfather destroyed both your father because he wasn't the person your grandfather wanted him to be. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump is president of the United States, yet you say the grandfather destroyed him as well.
Yes. He went about it differently because, unfortunately for Donald, he could be of use to my grandfather. It wasn't as simple as that, of course. Donald had many years of watching my father be the wrong one, behaving differently, not being accepted for who he was. And it's impossible to know who Donald might have been under different circumstances and with different parents. But clearly he learned the lesson from watching his almost 8-year-old brother be punished for being kind, for being generous, for being sensitive, for having interests outside of what my grandfather thought was acceptable. You know, he loved to hang out with his friends. He loved to boat and fish and fly. By the time he graduated from college, he had his private and his professional pilot's license.
He wasn't a killer.
He was not a killer. And shockingly, that was a bad thing. And Donald learned that lesson. And he essentially had to sacrifice whatever goodness there may have been in him once, whatever capacities for experiencing the full range of human emotion to my grandfather. And on the surface of things, yes, he's been successful, however you want to define that term. I mean, certainly in material terms and in terms of his current position, but at what cost? And I would suggest it was at the cost of him, and sadly now, all of us.
Who did he learn to become for his dad?
He learned to become the killer you mentioned, the man who needs to succeed at all costs, who recognizes that other people are expendable, who does not need to take responsibility, who will do anything to get attention, financial rewards, and to win.
You write that he knows deep down that he is nothing of what he claims to be. He knows he has never been loved. Does children love him?
I don't know if that's true. I don't know my cousins very well. They're much younger than I am. And I guess it also depends on what that means.
What does it mean to you?
To me, love means being connected to another human being in a very deep way, being able to share things with them and trust them. In terms of a parent for a child, it means sacrificing for them and accepting them no matter what, and never putting them in a position to lie for you or cheat for you or take from you. And I don't know that most people in my family understand that.
You paint the picture of a family that is, I guess in your words, malignantly dysfunctional. How so?
From very early on, the kids were separated, not physically, but emotionally and psychologically. They were never able really to count on each other in ways that mattered. They were in competition with each other for resources that felt over time scarce, which is absurd.
Donald figured out what his father wanted.
Yes.
His mother, not so much.
No. No. She was in some ways very much a creature of that generation. The gender divide in my family was stark even for the 40s and 50s. She had very little to do with the boys. It was almost as if the boys were my grandfather's purview and the girls were hers.